So today we're going to be checking out a fragrance from John Varvatos that I've really been enjoying recently. This one is John Varvatos Oud, one that doesn't really get a whole lot of coverage. The main ones are going to be your Dark Rebels and stuff like Artisan Pure. John Varvatos Vintage gets some love, and those are really about it. But this one, John Varvatos Oud, isn't one that I hear talked about all that much, and it's one that I put off for quite a while until eventually I ended up really wanting to try it, being that we are getting into fall, wanted to start picking some new stuff up. Ultimately, that led me down the path of grabbing a bottle of this one, and I'm pleasantly surprised. So today I'm going to review this one, I can tell you how it smells, how it performs, when you can wear it, and ultimately, if I think this one's actually worth picking up. Make sure you stick around. The link to this one will be down below in the description if you want to pick it up and check it out. Hit that link down there. Let's get into the review. So when you first spray this one on, what you'll notice right away is that it's not a super crazy strong oud fragrance. In fact, trying to pick up on oud can be a little bit tricky because it's not in here all that much, at least to me. And the type of oud that it is a very, very light and wearable oud. You can detect it, but you know, if you're thinking of a niche type oud, that's not going to be anywhere near in that ballpark. Those are going to be a lot stronger, typically going to be a lot more daring as well. This, still being a designer fragrance, a John Varvatos scent, is going to have a lot of wearability to it. Mostly what I'm getting here in the opening is myrrh, incense, and that oud note that's in here as well. If you look on the notes, there's a ton of notes listed, and that is typical of John Varvatos fragrances. They have very big, extensive note breakdowns a lot of the times. But again, the main things that I'm getting here is a nice smokiness, some myrrh, and a little bit of that oud. What you'll find is that overall, this scent is more balsamic than anything, and in a way it kind of reminds me a little bit of another fragrance from the house, and that would be something like Dark Rebel Rider. That one has a very strong balsamic nature to it as well. Of course, you get a lot of the leather, but you do get some of that myrrh and sweeter notes in there as well, and actually a little bit of a smokiness from Dark Rebel Rider as well, which I do equate to kind of being somewhat similar to John Varvatos Oud. Again, they are still different scents, so you know, it's not like it's going to be a redundant thing here. But if I had to kind of think, you know, okay, this reminds me of something, most likely it's going to be Dark Rebel Rider. What you'll also find about this fragrance is that it does have a bit of a freshness to it, an underlying freshness, which is weird because when you look at the notes and you hear the main notes that, you know, I pick up on, you wouldn't think there would be anything fresh about it. But I've encountered this with all John Varvatos fragrances: Dark Rebel Rider, John Varvatos Vintage, John Varvatos Pour Homme. All of the ones that are going to be, you know, not the fresh citrus-based scents still have a bit of a freshness, and it just kind of has this John Varvatos smell. And it's one of those things where when you smell this, you can tell that it's coming from the house of John Varvatos just by the character that it has. They all kind of have a similarity and just the way that they're composed, and it's the same thing here. Even though it's labeled as oud, it has, you know, a more fancy presentation. It's also a bit more expensive. I think this actually retails for like $120, you know, on retail websites. You can get it for about $50 on discounters. Again, I will link it down below. So even though it does look much more fancy, and you know, being that it is named oud and it has listed a prominent oud note, still does have that kind of traditional John Varvatos smell and personality to it. And that's not a bad thing. It smells great. They put out great, amazing, unique fragrances for the price, and really this one is no exception either. Now do remember, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones. In a lot of situations, you can pick up most of them in the $30-ish range. Again, this one's going to be pushing you about $50, $55, which still isn't bad. That's a killer price for a really nice, wearable designer oud fragrance with a lot of smokiness and myrrh and just a nice balsamic mixture as well. This is definitely going to be geared more towards the cooler months, fall and winter time, so this is the time to get the scent moving into fall. In terms of, you know, which season I think it would be best for, I'm almost going to say fall, just because of that freshness that it has, even though the note breakdown may be deceiving to you, and you may think it would be better in wintertime perhaps. For me, you know, after testing it and smelling it on my skin, I think it'll take nicely to the milder temperatures of fall when it's not super cold yet, just because it is still a bit light in terms of its composition. So, you know, you could wear it in the winter if you want, it'll still work great. But for me, I think the majority of the uses of this one is going to be here in the fall time when there's just a little bit of a crispness in the air, but it's not too cold yet. And for me, this is going to be leaning more of a evening out / dressed up fragrance. Not really something I would gravitate towards in the daytime as like a casual scent. You know, if I'm going out in the fall or in the winter or just during the day to run errands, probably not really going to be reaching for John Varvatos Oud. But when evening comes around, maybe there's a date or an event or a dinner or something in the evening time, this one is where I think this one would shine. It's got a nice high-end classiness to it. Nice oud in here, just giving it a little bit of a different touch. Would be great for those evenings out. So now, what everyone's been waiting for, the performance. How does this guy perform? So typically, notoriously, John Varvatos is known for having, you know, really good, high-quality smelling scents, but at a lack of performance. And this one here, I'm happy to say, is one of the better performing John Varvatos, although still not as strong as maybe you would like it to be. Longevity on my skin, surprisingly, is in that 7-hour range. Most people claim, you know, to get a couple hours, you know, 3-4 hours out of these John Varvatos and they're done. For me here with this one in particular, around that 7-hour range. In terms of projection, it does actually push out pretty well. I noticed this in testing. I would spray it on my hand and I would catch whiffs without having to bring my hand up to myself. And it's the same thing when I was wearing it on my neck and, you know, just applying it, wearing it throughout the day. I was catching whiffs for a while and it was actually projecting. So actually, surprisingly, pretty solid projection from this one as well. Honestly, pretty impressed with the performance here, which again, you would expect it to do relatively well because of the nature of the scent, being that it has oud and incense and myrrh and a bunch of sweet notes, and it does do okay. Again, you know, you would still expect it to do better and maybe hope for it to do better. And if that were the case, then maybe I would wear it or recommend it more for winter as well. But being that we still do have milder performance here, for me, going to be more of a fall scent. Do keep in mind, at about $50, a nice wearable oud fragrance for that price that does perform pretty decently, I have to say, I'm not too worried about it. This is also going to be a good compliment getter for you as well. It's just a kind of mysterious scent. You know, it's a warm, sexy, mysterious scent that, to be honest with you, no one has probably smelled before that's not in the fragrance game. You know, if you're just going down the street and someone smells this on you, chances are they're going to be intrigued because they haven't smelled this type of thing before. They're not really into fragrances, and, you know, especially oud. Again, the oud isn't that strong, but you do pick up on it here. It is something different, and it's something that will really catch the attention of other people and make them scratch their head, you know, just kind of wanting to know more about the scent because it's something that they haven't really had experience with. It's something that's different than the traditionally fresh fragrances that, you know, a lot of people are used to wearing. And I've already touched on this in the video, but quality is surprisingly really good as well. No complaints at all. This stuff smells expensive. Now, maybe not like niche quality, right? That's a bit of a stretch for this, but it definitely smells like a higher end designer fragrance in terms of quality. When you first spray it on, you don't get any harsh edges or any cheapness from it. You know, the quality of ingredients, the way it's blended, it honestly smells top notch. And that's one of the things that I do love kind of across the board for John Varvatos fragrances, is that you get an affordable scent with really respectable quality. And it's the same thing here. No issues with quality. It smells really good and honestly smells pretty high-end and expensive. I mean, you can get away with telling someone that you're wearing a $120 cologne, which is what this retails for. Like, it would smell like it'll fit that price tag. Luckily for you, you can get it for about $50 or $55, but hey, they don't have to know that. This smells like this could be a $100+ scent easily. Now, is this one that's worth picking up? In my opinion, if you want a nice wearable designer oud, but not, you know, too strong of an oud fragrance, I would say absolutely give this one a shot. If you like John Varvatos fragrances, this is one that you should definitely throw in your collection. It's a great smell. It's a really nice, classy looking bottle. I mean, you have to admit, you can't get over that. It's got nice texture to it and stuff. Got some weight to it. It's nice. Gold accents on the cap there as well. It's a nice presentation, an even nicer scent. And yeah, if you're into stuff like this, give it a shot. Don't be afraid of the oud note. If you're someone who doesn't like oud or you don't have much experience with it, this would be a good place to start without getting anything that's too oud heavy. You know, something like this, something like Yves Saint Laurent M7 Oud Absolu. Nice, very wearable designer oud fragrances that is a great way to kind of get you started and get you playing around with the note a little bit. You know, for me, when I was first starting out, oud I was not a fan of. If I saw it in a fragrance, I would be heading the other way. But now I've really started to come around to it, and that's because I've picked up scents like this, M7 Oud Absolu, and a few other more wearable designer oud fragrances. And over time, I've started to come around to it to the point now where I'm kind of branching into some niche oud fragrances and really enjoying it. So it's a really great way to kind of get your nose adjusted to it and develop your nose a little bit to start liking some different things. That's what it's all about, trying new things and just developing your taste as you go on. So that's it for me, guys. That's my thoughts on John Varvatos Oud. If you've tried this one, let me know what you think down below. And do remember, I will provide a link down below if you want to pick this one up as well on a discount for about $50-$55. That link will be down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow morning with another one. Take care.